right. Welcome everyone. So, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on which time zone you're joining us from. And a warm welcome to each one of you. Thank you so much for taking your time to join this session today. And yes, the topic for today is effective sprint planning, strategies, and tips for a productive development cycle. And without taking much time, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. Geethalakshmi. She's a diversified leader with 12 years of experience, or is known for maintaining a track record of successfully improving the growth of the companies in the life sciences and pharmaceutical industry. She's specialized in client management, product management, business development, project management, and stakeholder management. And yes, without much ado, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Geeta.
Thank you for the introduction, Soumya. Okay, so let us start. Okay, Ganesh has written about, he wants to know about the basics and fundamentals of sprint planning. Okay, fine. Good, let's start. So I have prepared a PowerPoint as well as I have a whiteboard, Miro board. So I always prefer Miro board so that we can write, draw, and interact much. So I'm sharing my Miro board. It's just nothing but a whiteboard. It's a free version. I mean, anyone can handle this Miro board. So the title is over here. So let me just type the topics that the team wanted to know today, like basics of sprint planning. I have given SP acronym, sprint planning, and user stories estimation. Okay, fine, good. So can anyone say, is the audio enabled, Soumya?
Yes.
Audio is enabled. Okay. Can anyone tell me what do you know about the Scrum framework?
They can you people can raise your hand if you're willing to talk. I will allow them to talk. Anybody wants to talk? I mean, okay, somebody else, Simon. All right, I've allowed you to talk. Yeah. Yes, Simon. You can unmute yourselves now and you can talk.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi there. How are you, everyone? Look, I'm a pretty experienced project manager, program manager, but done a lot of Agile, but recently just did a certified Scrum Master course. So yeah, just trying to understand the practicalities, the realities of sprint planning, not just theoretical, but I've worked with a lot of Scrums and Scrums, but just really wanting to see a practical perspective of how you actually do a sprint planning exercise. Yeah. That's basically me. Yeah.
Okay, Simon, if you don't mind, what is your background knowledge about the Scrum framework?
Like I say, just worked with Scrum, Agile Scrum for 3 or 4 years. And about a week ago, I did a certified Scrum Master course. So yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, nice to know, Simon. So to everyone, I just draw a picture, a simple one. It's not a very simplified diagram I'm going to write. So everybody should be knowing this is a sprint, okay? Imagine this is a sprint. This is a sprint. The sprint itself is an event, okay? In that sprint, let's draw the sprint planning event, which is the first initiating event of the sprint, okay? Next would be the daily scrum every day until you come up with an increment. The daily scrum every working day you'll have this kind of meeting, and then your sprint review, okay? That is the review about the product, and then sprint retrospective. This is basically the review about the team performance, their level of definition of done, process, people, everything. So this is where we are targeting today. This is where sprint planning stands. And the whole thing is the sprint. Okay, a sprint is nothing but the cycles in which the product is being developed. Sprint, the terminology is used in Scrum. We don't see this terminology in any other Agile methodologies. As you know, Scrum is one of the Agile framework, which is used extensively in software industry to develop the product. So for any project or product development, the planning is important. Okay, the software team or any other team which is using the Scrum framework for their product development, they start the sprint with the sprint planning. So this is where the sprint planning is positioned. Simon, you have raised your hand. Do you need anything to talk, Simon? It's fine. Are you okay?
All good. All good.
Okay. So sprint is nothing but the learning cycles. This is sprint 1. This is sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4. Exactly, I have captured this sprint 1 here. Okay. If you ask me to put some diagrams, so this is the sprint planning. This is where, and this is the daily Scrum, and then sprint review, and then sprint retrospective. So I have put all the events in a circular loop. Okay, it's a feedback loop. So the same thing is given in the schematic diagram. So any questions on this about the sprint planning? So this is the sprint planning. This is the development, and this is a sprint review and retrospective. So like this, the cycle repeats. In every sprint, all these 4 events are getting repeated. Any questions on this team? Any questions? Like you can talk or you can text, because I don't want to go to the next topic when you don't understand. Are we good?
Comment yes in the chat option so that Geeta
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Okay, good, great. Okay, so this is the positioning of the sprint planning event. It occurs in every sprint. In fact, it is the first event inside the sprint. The sprint is called containing event. The entire sprint is called containing event. The individual events are happening inside that. Now let's see why we need to have sprint planning event. We all know that it is a part of the Scrum framework. Why do we need the sprint planning event? Like any project development or product development, we need to plan. If we don't plan, we can't achieve the goal. Okay, so we need to plan for the entire sprint, whatever work. Say, for example, this is a product backlog. Okay, imagine this is a product backlog. I hope you know the product backlog is nothing but a to-do list. It is nothing but the to-do list, which contains all the work that is required to develop the product. This is a product backlog. And from there, as you know, we cannot do all the work at a time. So most of you should be knowing what is Agile. Agile is nothing but, if you keep the traditional project, if you want to develop a cube, okay, if you want to develop a cube, in waterfall, the cube will be developed at a time and delivered to the customer. Whereas if you say Agile, W stands for waterfall and A stands for Agile, the entire cube is divided into small cubes. Like this. So they deliver in increments, they deliver in portions, and then they integrate. Exactly, you get the same cube. For each blocks or for each chunks, the customer approval is received. The customer feedback is received. Customer will give comments, positive or negative, and that particular comment will be used. Imagine this is the first one. Any feedback or negative comments that the customer give, that will be incorporated in the second one. So at any given point of time, they are always delivering the right product, what the customer wants. So this is a simple difference between the waterfall and the Agile. Okay. So imagine this is an entire product backlog, whatever required for the product. Okay. So we need to have a small list that can be done in one sprint. That can be done in one sprint. Okay. Let us do one example here. So I just want to develop one product. Okay. Let us develop an online bookstore. So what is required to develop an online website? for selling the books online. It's an e-commerce website. Whatever is required, you can just tell me. You can talk. Talking is better, actually. It will be more interactive. Don't hesitate. Nobody is wrong here. I just want you to be interactive. Okay. Now the product, what we are going to develop is e-commerce website for selling books, right? So this is the product. Let us make a product backlog. Okay. So first we need to have the landing page, and we need to sign up from customer point of view, sign up and then log in. And then after login, search option, and various categories of books. Okay. So these are all the features that the software developers have to develop. Okay. Categories, and then reviews. If you want to buy any book, you have to see the review, right? And you will check any discount is there. And then you will add all the books in the shopping cart, and then do the payment and logistics, like your address, all those things. Then log out. Okay. This is one cycle of shopping the books in online. So this is the product backlog. For this particular task, this is a product backlog. Okay, this is a product backlog. You all know that the software developers cannot deliver at a single sprint. Okay, so they will divide this work into small chunks and then try to make a sprint backlog. Okay, that is where sprint planning comes into picture. And Shruti asked about the estimation. Okay, so now the product backlog is developed. Now they want to estimate. For example, a landing page is 10 story points. Sign up is 2 story point. Like that, you keep on estimating. And this estimation is a relative estimation, Shruti. This is not an accurate estimation. As you know, the software development task is a creative one. It's not a routine manufacturing kind of work. Okay, you all know that it's a creative kind of work where they would not have done the similar work in the past. Okay, so it's an innovative or creative work. So they don't have a clear idea of how much time it will take. And estimation, the software people, in IT industry, they estimate in story points. Story points are relative estimation. Accurately, nobody can do that. Okay, it is not accurate calculation. It is an estimation. Estimation means your calculation may be wrong or right, or it may be plus or minus 2 or 3. So it is just an estimate. And based on the previous experiences of doing a similar work, they will estimate. The developers will be able to estimate. And they will be using a technique called planning poker. Okay. Shruti, I'm just going for the outline today. If you have questions after the session, I can answer you. So I'm going the outline. So they do the estimation in terms of story point, and it is a relative estimation. What they do is they select the smallest work and give 1 story point for that. And then they estimate the remaining task. When compared to the smallest task, how much it would be. Okay. So that is called relative estimation, or the planning poker game. The developers and the product owner, they play this game. And they wait for the common allocating of the story point until that the game will be repeated. So this is how it is estimated. Now, coming to the sprint planning event in Scrum, first we'll see sprint planning. What is it's a time box event, okay? It's a time box. The meaning of time box is maximum time is recommended in the Scrum guide, okay? But minimum time is not fixed. Maximum time that is recommended by the Scrum guide is 8 hours for 4-week sprint. And again, you should be knowing the duration of the sprint. According to Scrum guide, the duration of the sprint is 4 weeks or less, not more than that. You can't have a sprint of 40 days or 50 days. Maximum is 30 days or 4 weeks. For a 4-week sprint, the time box is 8 hours. And again, if you finish within 5 hours, you're free to go. Okay, the time box. Every event in Scrum is time box because Scrum is founded on lean concept. They want to increase the productivity by reducing the waste. Okay, they will not engage in extra hours. So this is a time box of sprint planning. And let's see who are all the attendees. The entire Scrum team, full Scrum team will be the attendees. Can anyone tell me who are all in the Scrum team? Can anyone tell me who are all in the Scrum team? Simon, okay, yeah, product owner, correct. A product manager is not a part of Scrum team. A product, yeah, Scrum Master, right?
Scrum Master as well as the developer.
Yeah,
Or
developers.
development team.
Yeah, Scrum Master, product owner, and the developers. So there is one Scrum Master, one developer, one Scrum Master, one product owner, and developers maximum 8 people can be there. 6, 7, 6. Whoever is not talking, can you please mute your side, please? Yeah, thank you, Kalpesh. So the Scrum team comprises of a Scrum Master, product owner, and the developers, 8 members. So all these team members are mandatory to join the sprint planning. Everyone has a role. I'll tell you later. Now, other attendees are subject matter expert. Sometimes they need to get the advice of the subject matter expert who may not be the full-time developer in the team. So subject matter expert and stakeholders. Stakeholders could be the other, like someone has written as product manager. Product manager is not a part of Scrum team, but product manager will be available outside the Scrum team. Okay, they are called as stakeholders. Could be regulatory people or marketing people, sales team. Anyone could be the stakeholder. Okay, so all these members are required for the sprint planning event. Okay, let's see the purpose of the sprint planning. What is the purpose? To fix the task that need to be done in a sprint. Okay, to fix the task that need to be done, to fix the objective, how much work they are going to take for this particular sprint. Okay, and there are 2 things happening in the sprint planning. One is capacity planning and estimation. Capacity and estimation. First of all, they should know their capacity, right? And estimation we already discussed, like it depends on the work. I don't want to go into detail. And capacity also, how do you calculate capacity? Imagine you have around, we cannot take consideration for product owner and the Scrum Master into the capacity. Only thing we need to consider the developers, okay? There are 8 developers. So imagine it is a 1-month sprint. One-month sprint. So 8 developers. So one developer can complete 1 story point per day. So 8 developers can do 8 story points per day. And they don't estimate in number of hours. It is estimated in story points. And one more point Dinesh, please go ahead. Dinesh, please go ahead. I think maybe you are muted. I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear Dinesh.
Yeah, so my question was like, how can we arrive at this figure, 1 story point per day? Because we say that story point is relative. For one developer, it might be like 4 hours. For other, it might be 8 hours. For other, it might be 10 hours.
The work is same.
Can we really?
Yeah, the work is same. The work is same. So it's just an estimation, Dinesh. That's why I said it is not accurate. For one person says 4 hours, another person says 6 hours. They have to arrive at a common platform. They both may be right. Their own logic, based on their own logic or experience, both may be right. So they have to arrive at a common point. Fact should be only one. Though the number of story point estimation may be different among different people, but fact will be one. That's why the product owner hosts the planning poker game, wherein the developers are given opportunities to again and again estimate and come up with a common conclusion.
Yeah, that is for story point estimation. But my question was for this capacity planning. So because I believe the first step that we do is understand the capacity of the team for the sprint, right?
Yeah.
So when we go with this this calculation, like 1 story point per day, and if there are, let's say, 5 developers, so we are saying that team would complete 8 points per day. I mean,
Mm,
5
mm,
points per day.
mm,
And is
mm,
it 2 week sprint, then 10 into 5, 50
mm.
points. So is that
Mm.
how it is capacity is done?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, thanks, Dinesh. So, it is just whatever figure and points I'm saying is all like, it's not just for this session I'm saying, okay? It depends on the team and it depends on the experience level. It depends on the task, everything. So if you think that 8 story point can complete in a day, considering 30 days, okay, 30 days sprint, minus 8 week off. So you get 22 days, okay? In that 22 days, 8 into 22 is the capacity. So 176 is the story point, okay? 176 story point is the capacity. And while doing capacity calculation, you have to consider the holidays or somebody going for a vacation or something, okay? You have to consider everything and minus from this total value. So this is your capacity. And then in the product backlog, the product owner and the developers will be estimating. For example, login can be 1 story point, search can be 10 story point, like that they estimate, okay? And then they choose, they know the capacity now, they choose accordingly. How, for example, imagine it is a landing page is 100 story point. Just imagine, okay? Just for calculation sake. Sign up is 20 story point, and login is 60 story point, okay? So totally how much is coming? 180 story point for this task. And we calculated just now 176, we just round it off to 180. 176 we can round it off to 180 story points per sprint. In that case, this first 3 tasks will comprise of 180 days, right? So this will go for sprint 1. Very simple. This 3 tasks will go for sprint 1. Like that, things will be selected based on the story point and taken into sprint backlog. These 3 points will become the sprint backlog. So this is called sprint backlog. Sprint backlog. Until now, clear? Team? How we arrived at a product backlog and how we arrived at the sprint backlog. Is it clear?
One question here. Suppose, as we say that as a Scrum is more kind of like an iterative approach. Okay, we already have one sprint. Okay, can't we also not take some other categories like categories, review, or discount in our sprint 1 also? I know the user points are already covered, like 180 story points are already covered, but there are some other things because since an iterative, it doesn't mean like you do all the things in as a waterfall tendency. Like one activity is over, then only we can start on the other. But during the Agile and Scrum, we can club together some of the activities as per the developer's availability, and we can able to perform and do some kind of come up with some like MVP kind of an activity, right? Minimum viable product.
Yeah. Minimum viable product. See, we can consider minimum viable product as one feature. Okay. So landing page. See, the landing page and sign up and login alone cannot be a minimum viable product. At least you should be able, say in this, if you say as per Kalpesh, you need to have the landing page at least and then sign up, okay? Or login also not required. Search, categories, shopping cart should be there, payment should be there. All these things comprising of the minimum viable product. And then later we can give review, discount, right? Every other added features can be done in the next release. So in release 1, we can have the minimum viable product, which comprises of basic things without which we cannot buy the book. So that is, you're talking about different thing. Now I just want to do the sprint planning. Okay. Maybe you're talking about the release wise. Even to arrive at the minimum viable product, you need to execute multiple sprints, because even to arrive at the minimum viable product, you need to do a lot of development tasks. So all those development tasks can be divided into number of sprints. Okay, Kalpesh?
Got you. Thanks for
Okay, thanks, Kalpesh. So this is how a sprint backlog is derived. So we can say sprint backlog is the subset of the product
Sorry to
backlog.
interrupt, Geeta. We have one more, request in the chat.
Yes, Soumya. Can you explain again? I missed the difference.
Yeah.
Janaparan, I don't know what difference. Product backlog or difference between the product backlog and the sprint backlog? Is that? Can you specifically ask? Okay, sprint backlog. See, the entire list will be covered in the product backlog. Product backlog is a document. It can be in the Excel sheet. It can be given in the form of sticky notes, or you can write in your white paper or any notebook. Anywhere you write, but all the tasks that is required to develop this online website should be mentioned in the product backlog. It is a single source of document which contains all the requirements. But it is for the whole product development, which will take at least 6 to 7 months to develop a website. So, meanwhile, you need to do incrementally. Incrementally, how means we have to split the product backlog into multiple sprint backlog based on the capacity planning and the estimation. So we have arrived the sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is the outcome of the sprint planning. Outcome of sprint plan. Okay. Input is product backlog. Sprint backlog is the output. So sprint backlog, I can say it is a subset of the product backlog. The first 3 items I have selected and added in the sprint backlog. Landing page, sign up and login. I'm going to put it in this first sprint. Okay. And again, maybe in the next sprint, I can add these 3 or 2, something based on the capacity, based on the estimation. We can club 2 items, product backlog items, or 3 items, something like that. Sometimes if the logistics alone is 180 story point, this alone will be considered for sprint, next sprint. And what item to be worked on will be decided by the product owner, because he always works towards the product goal. What needs to be done in the sprint will be decided. What needs to be worked on first as a first priority, that will be decided by the product owner. Okay. And it is up to the developers. Based on the estimation, they can pull the work. It's always pulling the work. There is no pushing the work, because in Scrum, as you know, there is no hierarchy. Scrum is like a flat hierarchy. There is no one to assign the job. It's a self-organizing, self-managing team. They know what to do, how to do, and when to do. Based on their capacity, the developers will pull the task into the sprint. Okay, so this is how sprint backlog is formed. So this sprint backlog contains the list of product backlog items that the team, what they have to develop in the first sprint. Sprint 1. So the sprint backlog will come and sit here. Landing page, sign up and login. They have to complete and then go to the sprint 2. Okay. Until now, any questions? So basically, sprint planning is this much. The outline of the sprint planning is this much. Once you said okay, or we can proceed, or if you have any questions, then I'm ready to answer your questions. Simon said okay. Dinesh, Kalpesh, Shruti, and any Janaparan, Ganesh, any Kalpesh, any questions? Okay, fine. So let's see how sprint planning is done actually in the companies. Okay. So initially what they will do is the product owner will always refine the product backlog. Okay. High priority task will be always sitting in the top of the list. Okay. And then the product owner has to sensitize the Scrum team, the developers, on what task they have to concentrate. So this will be the task number 1, this 2, 3, 4, like that, 6 tasks. And the item should be estimated. The estimation can be collectively done by the developers and the product owner. Okay. So estimation. For English, press 1. Dinesh, can you please mute your side, Dinesh? Yeah. Thank you, Dinesh. So estimation. And then on the day of the sprint planning, as I said, all the attendees will be there. And what is the role of product owner, as I already explained, sets the objective. What is the role of Scrum Master? It's very silent, right, until now. What is the role of Scrum Master in sprint planning? Philip, I'll come to your point later. Once I will explain this, I'll come. It's a valid question, Philip. I'll come to your. So, Scrum Master role is to ensure the event takes place in a positive and productive. So this is a Scrum Master role, and the developers will select the items, select and move the items to sprint practice. So this is the role, and the stakeholders, sometimes if the team, Scrum team, does not have enough expertise, okay, that time they can take the support from stakeholders or the subject matter experts, and they will advise. So any advice is required. So this is taken by the stakeholders. So this is about the various roles and their accountabilities with respect to sprint planning. Okay, the sprint backlog. We have seen the output is a sprint backlog. It has 3 components. First is a sprint goal. For what purpose the sprint? How this sprint will add value to the product development. How this task that is going to be done in this particular sprint will add value to the entire product development. Or to be very specific, how this sprint goal can be mapped to product goal. Why we are doing that why question answered by the sprint goal. Next, selected product backlog items. What? Okay. This is the why and this is the what. What task we are going to do. Third one, how we are going to do this work. This is entirely depending on the developers. It is up to the developers. They decide how they are going to achieve the target. They will not, product owner will not advise, Scrum Master will not advise, only the developers. It is up to the developers. And also they fix the acceptance criteria. And one more important terminology, definition of done. Can anyone say what is definition of done? Definition of done. Acceptance criteria, definition of done. Again, this is done by the entire Scrum team. Entire Scrum team will define the definition of done. A definition of done
When
is
the
nothing.
implement is ready. That's correct.
Exactly. Exactly. When the product backlog item meets the definition of done, that means it gives rise to increment. That's right, Simon. The product backlog item should meet the definition of done. And what is the difference between the acceptance criteria and the definition of done?
Acceptance criteria are the actionable items under which your user stories get passed. Okay, those are the relative things which is required. Whereas definition of done is more about like a product base, means like once your product is ready, where you can able to sell in the market, or you can start selling it to the customer for the end users.
Yeah. So acceptance criteria, there is no word of acceptance criteria in the Scrum guide. Scrum doesn't talk about acceptance criteria. Scrum has definition of done. I'll give you a simple example. For everyone here who is new to the software field or who is already working. Imagine if you go to a restaurant and you're ordering a pizza, okay? If you imagine you order a chicken pizza. So the waiter brings the chef cook the pizza, bake the pizza, and the bearer bring the pizza to your table. On what criteria will you accept the pizza? On anyone can answer. On what criteria will define to accept the pizza?
It'll be hot.
Hot, okay. Okay.
It contains all the ingredients, what we are looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Next. Good flavor. Anything else? The shape. size, maybe the pizza crust. Everything you will check. And then you accept whatever you ordered. If you get, has all the requirements fulfilled for pizza. Yeah, Vijeta, that's right. Okay. Then what is the definition of done here?
When all the acceptance criteria have been met.
No,
The
both are
pizza-
different.
When the pizza is ready and ready to serve to the customer in the table.
Okay. It's already served. Okay. Anyway, ready to eat or something, ready to consume, something like that. Okay. Or consume. Okay. Anything else? Somebody has given whatever we ordered. That comes under acceptance criteria, Ganesh. Vijeta, Ganesh, Babu, everybody's answer comes under acceptance criteria. The acceptance criteria is something visible. Whatever visible to your naked eye. Okay. That is acceptance criteria. Definition of done is invisible. You can't see it. For example, what is the temperature at which the chicken is stored? Storage temperature. Cleaning method. What is the method they're using for cleaning? What quality level of cheese they're buying? From where they're importing? Whether that contains a quality certificate? All those things related to the quality of the pizza is the definition of done. That is what the specialty about Scrum. You don't see this in any other framework. Acceptance criteria is the minimum requirement that the product, the increment need to be having. But Scrum goes beyond that. Addition to acceptance criteria, definition of done. Okay, so quality aspects, basically quality aspects, and it is invisible. You can't see in that. So it is one step above, and the definition of done, there is no standards. What could be the definition of done? Normally, your organization may have some definition of done. If it is there, you can follow it. If your organization does not have anything, then the Scrum team can define the definition of done. Product owner, developers, all together can define the definition of done. But when you define the definition of done, the product backlog item should meet all the requirements. Then only it will be called as an increment. If something meets the acceptance criteria and does not meet the definition of done, it is not an increment. It has to meet the definition of done. Then only it is called an increment, either 0 or 100% in Scrum. There is no 60% or 70%. When you do completely as per the definition of done, that means that particular story is completed. Otherwise, it is not completed. Okay. Let us see some input. Possibilities and outcomes of the sprint planning. Possibilities and acceptance of outcomes of the sprint planning. That is, yeah, Vijeta, that is the outcome of the sprint planning is a sprint backlog, the definition of done. Okay. Acceptance criteria, we cannot say it is equal to definition of done. Then there is no need to have the word of definition of done. We can easily say acceptance criteria and move on. But in Scrum, a special thing is defined as definition of done. And that is defined by the Scrum team during the sprint planning or before the sprint planning. Once it is defined, it has to be followed. If one of the user story is not able to, for example, you're giving a login feature, sometimes your system will ask prompt whether can I save the password. You will say yes. So that is we can say that is one of the definition of done. It could be anything that add more value to the customer. Customer should be benefited because every time when we log in, we don't need to put the password. That is one of the definition of done. Acceptance criteria is equal to definition. This is from the perspective of the stakeholder. No, stakeholders are not required to follow any of these terminologies. Stakeholders are just outside the Scrum team. They don't need to follow the definition. It's only the developers have to instill the quality in the work. That means the definition of that. Okay. So these are all the things that happens during the sprint planning. Okay. So it's basically why, that is given by the sprint goal, what are all the items you're going to work for and how, actionable plan. That's how the sprint planning event happens. Okay. Now, let me move on to the PowerPoint. I'll stop sharing this Miro board. I'll just go through some theories. Any question so far?
I think we have one question in the
Yeah,
chat.
how to measure the metrics for the user stories. Yeah, Kalpesh, can you explain your question?
No, my question is regarding we are using the different metrics in order to gaze out at how much user stories points has been completed and all those things. Is there any kind of a tools which we are using as part of a development team or as a Scrum Master where we can able to measure and we can showcase it to the higher management?
See,
So we are-
there's a there's a term called velocity. Okay, how many story point you have completed in one sprint? That is a common metric that we use.
But for velocity, we might be using as a Jira as a tool or probably any some
Oh,
kind of a product management.
Oh, you're
tool,
asking for
right?
online tool, is it?
Yeah,
Tool to
means
do.
no,
Okay.
but I'm saying apart from using like as an online tool, is there any other ways where we can able to pretend? Because sometimes the stakeholders or they want to see that how much work has been completed and how we have been progressing. So is there any ways apart from a Jira or a velocity measurement where we can able to showcase to our stakeholders that this much what we have been progress further and how we can able to move ahead?
See, normally Jira is commonly used in Scrum framework. Actually, in that you can have the option of components. Okay, components will, if you want to report to the top management, you cannot describe each and every user story because they will not have time to listen and they don't want to go much into detail. If you want to develop a mobile, okay, mobile has hardware component and software component. So those two could be registered in the Jira as a component. So 40% of the hardware and 20% of the software is come like that. You can report through Jira.
Okay, got you. Thanks,
Okay.
Geeta. Thank you.
Yeah.
for answering my question.
Okay, Kalpesh, thank you. So let's go into the theory of the sprint planning. I'll go fast because whatever we discussed only will be. Can you see my PowerPoint, team? Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So this picture is taken from the scrum.org, scrum.org. I have taken the picture. So here comes the product backlog. And this is a sprint planning event. The outcome is a sprint backlog. Okay. And this is the team started developing the product and they have daily scrum every working day. And then they release the increment, an increment, which the product backlog item, which meets the definition of done increment, and then followed by sprint review, and then followed by sprint retrospective. Okay. So this is how the workflow happens in Scrum framework. And I already told input is a product backlog, output is a sprint goal, sprint backlog, what, why, and how, the capacity, velocity. Okay. Sometimes I forgot to mention that in a previous sprint retrospective, if you get any feedback, for example, definition of done is not good, or the team interaction is not good. Okay. All those commitments. So when there is a negative comment given during the sprint retrospective, the Scrum team has to improve in the next sprint. So all those action items can come into the sprint backlog. Okay. All those things got to be considered in the sprint backlog. These are all the things we just discussed now. This is again, before even the sprint planning event, your team has to come up with a sprint duration. It could be like 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Which one your team has to select, okay? Or sometimes customer instruct us, we need 2 weeks in 2 week sprint or 3 week sprint or 4 week sprint. Customer also gives advice. Sometimes the Scrum team has to decide based on the market competition, based on the competitors' deliverables. Like that, all those factors will come into during the decision of the sprint duration. So as per the Scrum guide, it is 30 days or less. Okay. And but it should follow a regular rhythm. For example, first sprint 1 week, second sprint 2 weeks, third sprint again 1 week. That kind of irregularity is not good because the cadence is important. Okay, for everyone to book the schedule, to book the meeting room, the rhythm is required. No need to complicate it much. And also, sometimes physically, some of the participants cannot join the sprint planning. They may join through Zooms or something like that. So if you maintain a rhythm that is good for everyone. Normally, the Scrum recommends shorter sprints. Can anyone say why shorter sprints are recommended than the longer sprints? Can anyone say?
Usually, the sprints are 2 weeks, okay, so that the work get completed and if at all any pile up or any what you call a leftover work in a single sprint has been, can be covered in the another sprint. Like sprint one, leftover work can be able to combine in the sprint two. Such kind.
Okay, no, that is different actually. I'm asking why they prefer shorter sprints over the longer sprints. Imagine company A and company B. Okay. Company A is doing 2-week sprints. The individual length is 2 weeks. Can you see my writing? This is 2 weeks. Okay. Company B is doing 4-week sprints. This is 2 weeks. This is 4 weeks. Okay. So imagine they are giving one feature here. So every 2 weeks, this company will deliver a feature. So per month, this company will give 2 features deliver, whereas this company gives only 1 feature deliver. Okay. Like version 1, version 2. If version 2 is released by A and company B is still in the version 1, company B will lose the market because company A has released the version 2. People will go and buy this product, not this one. So they always prefer the shorter sprints. And second thing is, this is one aspect. Okay. Second thing is, you limit the risk of developing a wrong product. When you have shorter cycles, you have the opportunity to collect the customer feedback, stakeholder feedback, and you adapt your development methodology or whatever. But if your sprint is for 1 month like that, then if you have 1 month sprint, you will have an opportunity to only one time you can inspect and adapt. But if you have 2 weeks sprint, you have 2 times, minimum 2 times in a calendar month. So they prefer shorter sprints than the longer sprints. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Simon, that's right. Reduce risk. That's right. Yeah, great. Sorry, I didn't notice the answer. Good outcome. Yeah, it helps to deliver product frequently. Barnaby, that you are right. What if the task duration? Yeah, Philip, I'm coming to your point now. For example, so one minute. For example, you have the sprint backlog. You have 3 items, okay? And you're executing the sprint. This is a sprint. Sprint planning. And here is a development phase, review, retrospective. Imagine you have done only these 2 tasks. Maybe at this point you have added 1 increment and this point you have added 1 increment. And this is not done. Third item is not done. Do you think you can extend the sprint after 30 days? No, it is a fixed length. The time is fixed. You cannot shorten it. You cannot extend it. That is as per the Scrum guide. So if you done 2 increments only, that's fine, totally fine. What will happen is, imagine this is a product backlog, bigger list. This third task will go and sit in the product backlog. This is done after discussion with the product owner. Product owner is here. The developers are here. Okay. Developers, if they think that they are not able to complete the third item, they are not able to complete, they have to discuss, collaborate with the product owner, and the product owner will accept to take the task back. But it is not necessary it has to go and sit in the top of the list. It may come here or come here. It depends, because the product owner prioritizes the product backlog based on the priorities. It doesn't mean that if the pending work has to come in the next immediate sprint. It's not like that. Whatever is decided appropriate by the product owner, it will go and sit there. I hope I answered your question, Philip. So, yeah, to inform the stakeholders what all the increment is happening during sprint cycle, close the current sprint, and close the current sprint is fine, but iterate it the new sprint. That new sprint can be after 3 sprints or 4 sprints or the immediate sprint. Philip, do you understand? I'm waiting for your response because, yeah, good. And on the other hand, if you complete this task, okay, like okay. On the other hand, if you have completed all the 3 tasks within here, okay, imagine you completed this one. You have still some more time. You cannot close the sprint. This much time you have. You cannot close because it is fixed, 30 days. Take some more task from the product backlog and start doing the work after discussing with the product owner. See, 2 things are there. The sprint duration is fixed. It is a fixed event. And there is one more terminology called time box. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between the fixed event and the time box? Fixed event versus time box. Okay. Fixed event. For example, imagine you are in the kindergarten. Your class time is your class time is 1 hour for English class. Next, mathematics. This is English. This is mathematics. Every class is 1 hour. If your English teacher completes all the work by 45 minutes, can she leave the class? Can she leave the class? Imagine the 5-year-old kindergarten students are attending the class. The English teacher, she completes within 30 minutes of the class. Can she leave the class? She cannot. She will keep engaging the students with some activities or some play or fun game, something. And then 1 hour is completed means she will leave the class and mathematics teacher will come. Again, if she's one day is very tough for her to teach the kids, she cannot complete the planned syllabus within 1 hour. She cannot extend it to the mathematics class because maths teacher will be waiting. So the class, the duration is very much fixed. It can be extended or it can be shortened. That is called fixed event. That is what referred to the sprint. The sprint is very strict. You can't extend it or you can't shorten it. Time box. The maximum duration is fixed. The minimum you can shorten it. Like you're going for a shopping, grocery shopping every Sunday morning, 10 to 12. You're going every week, 10 to 12. I go for grocery shopping. One day I finish within 1 hour shopping. Because in my plan it is scheduled for 2 hours, will I wait in the parking lot 1 hour, just watch some movies, or I will return back to my home? Yeah, I'll come back. That is called time box. Maximum time is decided, but there is no minimum recommendation. That's how the sprint planning. Sprint planning is time boxed event to 8 hours. Daily Scrum is time boxed to 15 minutes. Sprint review is time boxed to 4 hours. Sprint retrospective is time boxed to 3 hours. Who recently taken CSM class will remember this. So it's a time box event. Sprint planning is a time boxed event. Okay. Let me move on to the next slide. So let's see the anti-pattern. So we have come to the last section, last topic of this today's webinar. So let's see the anti-pattern. Okay. Sometimes the developers overestimate their capacity, take on too many tasks, and they will lead to failure. They will not be able to complete. Okay. So you have to consider your capacity and then take the task. That is one of the anti-patterns. And you have to consider public holidays, new team members, like that means inexperienced one, vacation, team members quitting, sick leave, corporate overhead. Many such things has to be considered when you do the capacity. Capacity check is very important. If you don't do the capacity check, that is anti-pattern. Next, technical debt. You should not think only the news stories. You should concentrate on the technical debt also. They say at least 20% of the sprint should be allocated for the technical debt only. 75% for the new issues. Okay. Technical debts and bugs. So spikes. Sometimes you do spikes as well. I think somebody said it was spike. today. So all these things to be considered during the sprint planning. So always you consider for 80% capacity. Okay. So that you have 20%. If you can achieve, it's okay. If you don't achieve, you have the 20% buffer. You can calculate for 100% capacity of the team. So just give 20% buffer for fixing the bugs, okay, or refactoring the code base. Just this is a general rule. See, no business objective. No business objective is set by the product owner. No sprint goal is defined by the developer. Okay, this is one of the anti-pattern. So product owner should make it clear what objective they have to consider in the first sprint. Sometimes unfinished user stories and other tasks from the last sprint spill over into the new sprint without any discussion. This is an anti-pattern. They have to discuss with the product owner. Without discussion, they cannot bring the pending task to the next sprint backlog. And the product backlog should be completely refined before coming to the sprint planning. The product backlog should be completely refined. At least the top layer should be completely refined so that it is flowing into the sprint backlog. Sometimes the product owner is always in charge of the revenue. Okay, he may try to push the developers to take more tasks. That is not right. In that time, Scrum Master has to come into the help. Scrum Master has to coach the product owner. Hey, product owner, the team cannot complete this much, so don't push them. So product owner is for money and Scrum Master is for people. He's a people leader. Okay. Yeah, product owner, no, without any preparation, he comes for the sprint planning. Again, the developers will be confused here. Okay. So the product backlog should be actionable 24/7. At any given point of time, the product backlog should be updated. And irregular sprint length, as I told you, 1 week sprint, 2 week sprints, 3 week sprints. So the sprint duration is varying from sprint to sprint. This is not good actually. Overcommitment as forecast imposed. Sprint forecast is not a team-based decision. So assertive product owner dominates the developers. Okay. The product owner job is to just inform what item need to be worked first, what item need to be worked on second. That's it. How much work is decided by the developers. Sometimes just leaving the sprint planning itself is an anti-pattern. You have to do the planning. So what is the anti-pattern of the Scrum Master? If the Scrum Master failed to ensure that the team, everybody is participating in a positive way and a productive way, and the time is considered, like, for example, 8 hours is followed. Okay. All those things need to be ensured by the Scrum Master, whether the product backlog is neatly refined and ready for the developers to pull the task. All those things to be monitored by the Scrum Master. Okay. So we are done with the PowerPoint. So team, now we are open for the questions. We are open for the questions now.
Geetha, Simon here.
Yeah.
So how can a Scrum manager stop a pushy product owner in the real world?
Yeah, that's a good question, Simon. Yeah, that's the duty of the Scrum Master. He should have that leadership. He should have that strong leadership skills, who strongly follows a Scrum framework and who takes care of the entire Scrum team. Because if we try to put on more work on the developers, the quality may reduce. They may not meet the definition of done. Because it is scientific. We are going by the capacity. We don't go like a mere assumption. We go by the capacity planning. So we have to follow that. If the product owner is too pushy, you have studied about the Scrum values. Courage is one of the Scrum values. Scrum Master should have the courage to confront the product owner and to counsel the product owner. Okay, he has to do that. That is the duty of the Scrum Master. Otherwise, what is the point in having the Scrum Master in the team? He has to be strong enough to lead the team. Yeah, with respect to the people. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. See, Philip, the question is outside the topic of sprint planning. Yes, you can use it. DevOps is used in SAFe framework. Yeah. DevOps, if you learn DevOps, it will be helpful actually for executing the SAFe framework. Ma'am, can I have this PowerPoint? Yeah, I will share. I will share this PowerPoint to Miss Soumya and she will share with you. So, any other questions you have? Nowadays, many of the SAFe trainers, Philip, added to the thing, many of the SAFe trainers are going to DevOps actually, because they think that DevOps will help, because DevOps is one of the dot in the Scrum SAFe framework. They believe in continuous delivery pipeline, CDP. In that, continuous exploration, continuous integration, continuous deployment, in that DevOps comes actually. But we don't use that in Scrum framework, but in SAFe, yeah, it is good, added skill. So, and Shruti, you have asked about the estimating user stories. Is your question answered, or you have some more questions, Shruti? Soumya, if others have no questions, we can, yeah.
Yes, Geeta. So, nobody have any questions for Geeta? If you have any doubts or your suggestions, like how was the session? So, what were you expecting? Was that delivered in the session? Anything? Yes, it was. Yes, Philip. Actually, in a week or two, this video will be live on our YouTube channel.
And Barnaby asked the difference between the Scrum Master and the Project Manager. Is a good question, Barnaby. Project Manager, as you know, who manages the project schedule, cost and scope, quality, the team, stakeholders, procurements, risk management. All these things are being managed by the Project Manager. But Scrum Master is totally a different role. Thanks, Philip. Scrum Master is totally a different role. It's kind of a leadership role. They call it as a servant leader. Servant means the Scrum Master does service to the team, does service to the product owner, does service to the entire organization. Definitely, Scrum Master role is not same as Project Manager. He or she doesn't manage anything, because Scrum Master does not manage the product development, but he's a leader, servant leader. Like, for example, I always compare the Scrum Master with the father of the family, okay? Most of the fathers, okay? When I was like 16 or 17 or 15 teenage, my father used to be very much controlling me. So when I joined the university in 18 years old, I went to a different city. He can no more control me, okay? He doesn't know what I'm doing, my daily schedule. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't stop controlling me. But he was still there, supporting me to pay the fees, for the food, for my lifestyle, everything he was supporting me behind. Okay, that is the role of the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master has to provide the right environment for the Scrum team to work on the product development. Positive work culture, collaboration, more interactions. Okay, and Scrum Master has to teach the Scrum framework, like sprint planning, time boxes, artifacts of the Scrum. Everything he has to teach and coach the team. He's more like a coach, mentor, facilitator, and he enables the team to solve their problem on their own. He will not solve the problem, but he will enable the team to solve their problem by themselves. Or shortly we can say he make the team self-managing. Okay, so this is the main role of the Scrum Master. Definitely not at all similar to project manager. Both are entirely different roles. Yeah.
All right, so I've shared the link here. We have planned more sessions with Geeta in the coming months. So please visit this link and get registered. And we have other sessions also, like value-added services, interview techniques, tips and tricks for to crack the interviews. So such sessions are also live on this page. Please visit and get registered. Yeah, and I think Geeta's session is also live on the website. So please get registered. I think yes, Geeta, it was very nice, and as everyone is telling, it was very informative session and it was very insightful. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining the session. See you all in the next sessions. Hope to see you all in the next sessions. Yeah, until next time. Take care, everyone.
And
Thank
Soumya, I'll
Thank you.
share the PowerPoint to you.
Yes.
Kindly share to Barnaby. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Soumya,
Yeah,
for supporting
thank
for
you,
the
Geeta.
session.
Thank you, everyone.
No problem.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Simon.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.